I know what it's like to interact with people who may be saying or doing things that used to trigger that. It's like there's nothing happening. Matter of fact, I am able to show up in a way that facilitates our interactions. For instance, I have a person who used to trigger me because this was someone who liked to ask what I was doing, what I was working on, how I felt about things. And whatever they would take it and twist it somehow, how they were going to twist it, but it would end up being kind of twisted. I had decided before mapping on this, I had decided I would no longer share anything with this person.
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. I'm Danielle Keasling, and in each episode, I connect you with unparalleled access to authentic, credible voices from across the entire world of beauty, wellness, fashion, travel, and mindset.
The superconscious takes us down a different trail each time, we get together.
So talk to me about that. When you get together, what are those different trails, and what do you find as a common denominator? What should people expect? Because I think that if I was an individual that wasn't in touch with my subconscious, this would feel a little woo-woo to me, right?
Yeah. And just so you know, what a person experiences because they haven't been in touch with this part of themselves, the fact that they even have, this superconscious that is there to help. The intro session, it's like starting and helping them to experience what it's like for their superconscious to come along board and help them. So let's say during this session that there was something that they wanted to focus on, and when we went through the procedure, they got to experience the real change that happens and where they know for themselves. They don't have to have someone else explain it to them, or, it's like they actually said, wow, okay. So all of a sudden, even if I'm trying to think about what I was upset about, it's like I can't do it. The memory is there, but without the story, without the label that went along with the story. And that was their superconscious that did that to help them focus on what's happening now.
Okay.
To be more present, because that serves them, that allows them to actually be more effective in how they interact with other people instead of dragging old stories that have nothing to do with what's going on now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So when they experience that, I hear different things. One of the things that I've heard a person say, she said, it felt otherworldly. I've never even, I never had anybody use those words together. It was like otherworldly. And I've had another person explain where it's like, wow, I feel lighter. I feel, it's like something that was weighing on me before, and it's like it's been lifted. For myself, I can say, that I have experienced where I had new insight. It's like whatever I went into, the session about that I was wanting to focus on, it's like that wasn't even the real, that it's kind of like it was just a surface thing. And there was actually something beneath that was more important and that was uncovered that allowed me to really say, wow, okay, so now I understand that. So I want to check in and focus on also, so what would be a good next step for me? And maybe that wasn't even what we were focusing on initially. But I hope that helps. But
Incredibly. I think it's so good for everyone listening to this podcast to know that they're not alone, first of all, that we all have a subconscious, a super subconscious, and there's so many ways to drive into that and understand it. And maybe we don't fully understand it, but we know how to tame the beast, I would say.
yes,
Because we still, to this day, for as much power and knowledge as I have with mindset and practices like this, I still get triggered. We're human beings. We live in a society of triggers.
one of the things that I find phenomenal about the MAP process and why I keep talking about it is I know what it's like to go years without being triggered.
That's amazing. I need you in my life.
I can say that. I know what it's like to interact with people who may be saying or doing things that used to trigger that. It's like there's nothing there's nothing happening. Matter of fact, I am able to show up in a way that facilitates our interactions. For instance, I have a person who used to trigger me because this was someone who liked to ask what I was doing, what I was working on, how I felt about things, and whatever they would take it and twist it somehow. And I never knew how they were going to twist it, but it would end up being kind of twisted. And I had decided before mapping on this, I had decided I would no longer share anything with this person. But then that sets up a wall. As far as interactions, I didn't want a wall. And the best version of me is not comfortable having a wall between myself and someone that I actually care about. After mapping, when this person asked, so, what's going on with you? What's new with you? I let them know, I'm working on something beautiful. What's happening with you? I immediately turn it around and I focus on them. And I don't even know if they noticed that that's what I do now, but they start talking about themselves and what's going on with them. And I get to be my authentic self, which is I'm an encourager. And, it's like I love people. And it's like, I love that for you. Whatever it is that they shared with me, it's like, I love that for you. And so what do you got happening this weekend? Basically, some of the stuff they would ask me, I ask I ask them, and everything just kind of goes so much smoother. And it's like I'm comfortable with them kicking that conversation off because that is what they enjoy doing. They enjoy initiating these interactions, but I am the one who's actually steering how the interactions go. And I'm not doing it in a manipulative way at all. It's where I answer with whatever they ask me initially, but I know that what would really serve them better is to talk about what's going on with them, not hear about what's going on with me.
Gosh, I always say talk less, listen more.
Yeah.
That's one of my mottos all the time.
But honestly, it's nice not being triggered. It's nice to even notice when I am starting to feel triggered and I just kind of step to the side, and I just kind of quietly speak to my superconscious. It's like, superconscious, you see this? When I say see this, you see what's going on inside of me is what I'm really meaning. And superconscious knows that. That's what I mean. That, please treat this and do a massive change history and everything after that. And within, I would say less than 2 minutes, I am calmer and I don't have to leave a situation that I was thinking possibly I might want to, just excuse myself, and not be in this environment. I don't have to do that. I don't have to leave where I'm at. I get to take control and regulate
Nice.
by communicating with that part of me that is there to help me.
And just for those that are listening that are new to all this, Barbara, can you share a personal story of your learning as you went through this process and why you're so passionate about it? Because I feel like it definitely comes from within you.
Yes.
And I would love to hear that because I think that that's so important because people have to connect the dots.
Yeah. Well, for me, one of the stories that is a part of my true experience, I had carried around an story based on an old event that happened in my childhood. We're talking about elementary school, probably wasn't 7. I'm thinking I might have been around 5. However, what happened, this memory stuck with me because I felt so bad. I felt so upset and confused about what happened. It's like, what did I do, to deserve what happened? Well, it was a Christmas morning. I'm excited. I am so excited I couldn't sleep. I'm the first one to wake up and realize that Santa Claus had come. I have an older sister, older brother that were around, but they were asleep. So I would be the first one to wake up. Well, I was so excited that when I got up, I ran and burst into my parents' bedroom. And there was a collision. On the other side of the door, I don't know what happened because the next thing I knew, I was rolling around. Like, I think I ran into my dad, but all I can tell you is I was rolling around. It's like I was, and next thing I know, I'm basically pushed out of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the door slams, and it's still Christmas morning, but I am feeling like,
Like,
what just happened?
yeah.
You know, that memory was a painful memory for me that I didn't share with anybody. So me being brave enough to even talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember the MAP practitioner saying to me, think of something that it's like whatever it is that comes to your mind, that is something that has been, it almost feels like a stuck point and you just want to be done with it. That's what popped up in my head. And when that popped up in my head, I focused on that while the MAP procedure was done and my superconscious was engaged. And what I got to experience in a matter of minutes was something that used to trigger me and where I would feel so bad. I was like, I would just feel like, I'm sure it was almost like I was in that moment again as a child. It went from a 10 as far as the reactivity that was going on when it popped up in my head. I was fighting back tears, just like I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of that session, less than 20 minutes into that session, it was like I was in the room. I could literally stay in the room where my parents were, and I understood something I never understood before. They were a young couple. It was Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they were doing. Almost like I was like a more mature version of myself,
Yeah.
and where I understood that I had intruded in possibly a very intimate moment.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened as far as the collision and me being put out of the room had nothing to do with
You.
my worth, my value, them loving me. It had nothing to do with any story that I could possibly have made up about them, about myself, about anything. And the story was gone. It was absolutely gone. The feelings of being upset with myself or with them was gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was just gone. And it has never returned. It's like I can think about that event, I can think about that morning, but I don't have the story. I don't need the story.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an like a detachment to an attachment that
Yes,
you didn't even like.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I think that like sharing that, and thank you for that, because that's a personal story. I think that helps people understand though that it doesn't have to be a bad situation. It doesn't have
No.
to be, people associate all the time where, oh, I had a great childhood, so I don't have childhood trauma. And I'm like, everyone has some form of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. Here we go beyond surface level advice. We dive deep into transformational insights from experts who set the standard in their fields.
Yeah.
Like whether it was from our parents, whether it was from our siblings, whether it was from our kids that we went to school with, at the playground, whatever it was.
Yeah, or even on your way home from school. It's like there's when we use the word trauma as it relates to MAP, we're not talking about PTSD kinds of stuff,
Exactly.
even though that has been treated as well.
Okay.
But if you think about as a child, what feels like a trauma as a kid, somebody took my bike, or, I fell. I was
Embarrassed.
going wherever I was, or I wasn't invited to this particular event or party, or, this best friend that I had. I can't believe that they just told this big lie on me. It's like all the stuff that happens that we don't just experience, we label and we give a story. And every time we think about the label that we gave to that story, it's not just the event, it's what do we call that event? For us, if that was, that was horrible. If that was ridiculous. It's like I was so embarrassed, so it's like anything that's like that is going to trigger something similar within us. And we could be getting ready to go into a boardroom. And all of a sudden, we are feeling like the last thing I want to do is say something stupid.
I hear you. I think that everything you're saying is so relatable. And whether you're an executive in a boardroom working for a large company, whether you're listening to this podcast and you're a small business owner, if you're someone fresh out of school, I think that what you're talking about, even though you work with so many big names and, C-suite clients, this is relatable to everyone.
And it's important to me that people know that there are options available to help anyone to face it. Some people call it facing your demons. It's like, regardless of what you want to call, being able to have the regulation where you are the captain. You are the captain of your life. You're the captain of your ship. You're the captain of your soul, and where you have whatever your goals are, your aspirations, your desires that are unique to you, that there is a part of you that can face what you need to go through in terms of growing and becoming, this higher version of yourself that it's like that's what you want, but you're afraid to go there. That part of you that is able to face whatever needs to be faced is there with you.
I love that.
We don't have to talk ourselves out of going for what we really want. We don't have to self-sabotage ourselves. We can actually make a decision and then know that there's a part of us that is going to say, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
I'll be there and I'll walk you through this.
That's amazing. That's really not only profound words, but I think that a lot of people have to hear that, replay this part of the podcast, and really listen to that last 30 seconds, because that's a point of my career that I think was a pivotal moment. Tell me about your book.
Healthy, Happy, Whole. Well, it's a workbook. So this isn't a book that it's meant to be something that you go back to. It's like you read it, you put things into practice, you see what works for you, find out where you are right now. And included in the book that, it's where a person gets to do a self-assessment multiple times in different ways, but they're all short, easy self-assessments. There's a self-assessment that just helps them to know where they are as it relates to their support system. There's a self-assessment that's in there in terms of them just doing a look back on what they've been through in the past year and how that might be setting them up for some challenges, whether it's their mental health or their physical health, or even spiritually speaking, where they might be going through some doubts about even the meaning, of who they are in life. If they've had major losses, that can really do a number, on people in terms of, so who am I now? But Healthy, Happy, Whole is to equip, it's like do a self-assessment, but then be equipped if you determine that you kind of need some help in certain areas. Maybe you thought you had a strong support system until you read, what was there, and you realize that you need a stronger support system than what you have. And there are some action items that you can, things you can do, things that are easy to put into practice. But I think it also is a book that's inviting each of the readers to be brave. Be brave enough to take a look at what's going on with you and love yourself enough to make adjustments as you recognize that some adjustments are needed.
I love that. I love that because I think that, again, everyone can take that and know that we all have work to do.
Yes, because we're ever growing. It's like the whole thing about this human journey. I think about even how our DNA, it's almost like we're going from something lower to something higher. And we're ever growing, and we're going from faith to faith, or from strength to strength, from glory to glory. We're constantly growing. And even our desire for more, where there's a part of us that's whispers sometimes, it's like, there's got to be more than this, and our desire for more is also, it happens every time you think about, you look in your closet and, you decide, I think I need something to kind of change things up a little bit. All of that is good stuff. That's just a part of how we experience life. Otherwise, we get bored. We get bored with ourselves. We get bored with anything where it's the same, same old, because we were not meant to experience the same thing over and over and over again, even though it seems that sometimes people think that that's what life is supposed to be like. It's kind of like they're stuck in a loop of where they're focused on the past and repeating it. I do believe that we're very capable of surpassing anything that we could think or imagine. I mean, if you think about the things that are available now that even 10 years ago seemed impossible. And even I take the word impossible. So I think the word impossible is really saying I'm possible. And learning to use your imagination and actually tapping into that creative aspect of who we are. It's easier to do that when you're not preoccupied with being afraid. The fear response is something that we do not have to be ruled by.
Yeah. No,
but you need help to do that, and you need that part of you that is brave, and that is your superconscious.
I love this. Well, gosh, Barbara, I mean, I know I'm getting on Amazon to buy your book tonight, but I feel like I'm pretty connected into a lot of the things that you talked about, but I'm always vulnerable, especially when it comes to my audience. And that's where I stay relevant in the industry is, we're all human. And, that's part of the reason that I started doing this podcast was why not? Someone's story can change somebody else's trajectory, and why we feel we need to hold back that kind of stuff, because who's going to judge us and what are they going to think and why are they doing that? I think it's just, I'm over that. So
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that point up, because one of the things that I have noticed, and maybe I'll end up writing a book sometime about it, is there's certain things that we've all been, and when I say all just different cultures, it doesn't matter. If we're not talking about just in the US, we're talking about globally, where we are taught as children to judge. So we judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge things, and we do it constantly. And one of the things that if you want to experience how much of an impact that aspect of the way we function is I almost wanted to say infecting us, but has negatively impacted us.
yeah.
Try to go 1 minute where you look around, you close your eyes, and then you open them as though you are seeing everything for the first time.
Yeah.
Without judgment, without labeling anything.
Can you imagine that? I mean, people that are listening, can you imagine? That's like, in my opinion, that's total freedom.
Yeah. Because what happens is you realize that it's not eating up your energy emotionally. It's not eating up your energy in terms of thoughts that mean nothing, that have nothing to do with what you really need to be focused on. And then from 1 minute, because the first time you do it, 1 minute will seem like a really long time, but getting up to 5 minutes where you can do something like that. And when does it come in handy? Because you're learning to quiet your mind. That's part of what's happening.
Yeah.
But when you are in traffic, that's when you can turn it back on. Just act like you're the observer, and you have no judgment for anything that's going on. You're just there. You're part of the folks that are there. It's like you have no judgment. If you do that, things that used to be upsetting aren't upsetting, because you're not judging anything. You're allowing yourself to just be an observer.
Yeah.
And most of us, we are not fully present for our relationships or interactions or experiences because we're so busy labeling things and creating new stories. One suggestion I would have for folks, give it a try. Try to go a minute without judging anything and just look at everything as though you're seeing it for the first time.
I love that. And thank you for those parting words, Barbara. That is helpful and hopeful for, I think, every single person listening to this podcast. Before we part, where can people find you? Do you have a website, social media handles?
I am on LinkedIn. If they look up Barbara Palmer, most likely they will find me. But I'm on YouTube, all the different social media platforms. LinkedIn is the main one. However, I can also be reached at bplifecoach.com. That's my landing page. They can go there and quickly be able to schedule a discovery session. It's a 30-minute complimentary session where we focus on something they want to focus on, and they can learn more about MAP and some of the other techniques that are available.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Just to know there is a power within you, in each of us, that is able to heal us, is able to help us. And I just want you to know that you are more powerful than anything you've been through, than anything you're facing now, or anything that you will face. Never give up on you.
Wow, guys, what an incredible conversation with Barbara Palmer, a woman whose wisdom, compassion, and depth reminds us that the true transformation does not happen overnight. It happens in small, intentional shifts in how we think, how we feel, and how we show up for ourselves every single day. Barbara's story and her work are so powerful. Reminders that no matter where in life we are, it's never too late to begin again. So change is possible when we can understand our mind and our limitations, and it's our greatest tool. So thank you so much, Barbara, for coming on to Another Million Miles, and good luck with your coaching, your journey, and helping thousands of people in this world come to their best and highest self.
Well, thank you, Danielle.
Absolutely. We hope to see you guys on the next episode of Another Million Miles. Until next time, remember, the journey to living your most fulfilled life isn't about how far you go, but how deeply you grow. Keep going, and keep living another million miles beyond what you truly thought was possible.
Thank you for joining me on Another Million Miles, where luxury and authenticity meet to enrich your journey. This is Another Million Miles, and I'll see you on the path ahead in our next episode. Until then, keep embracing the journey, savoring each moment, keep dreaming big and moving closer to the life you envisioned, and traveling afar.